My name is Hannah, and this is my year of less stuff. Hey y'all, it's time for another video about new makeup releases. Sometimes I phrase these videos as anti-hauls, sometimes will I buy it videos, sometimes just do I want it, because I know that I'm not really gonna buy anything, so I'm just talking about whether I would wanna buy anything if I was buying stuff. I think I'm gonna approach this kind of like an actual will I buy it video, because I did buy some makeup this month. So at this moment in time, I'm not feeling like it's utterly out of the question. I haven't really been paying attention to new releases. I went through Trend Mood, and I'll link Trend Mood down below. It's the Instagram account that puts new releases up all the time. And I just clicked on everything that was even remotely of interest, and I'm gonna go through and talk about everything. I tried to get my bun in frame today. I could not. I tried and tried, and I am at this point confused as to how I've ever managed to get my bun in frame. It seems like the math doesn't work. So we're just going to proceed like this. It's me, my face, and makeup. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Maybe my bun is in frame and I just can't see because there's the light from the windows is very bright today. So I'm having trouble actually even seeing the little monitor that's attached to my camera. But you know who should be in frame? Sadie. No! Come back. She's going to have a snack. Let's start, and maybe Sadie will come back. When she's sleepy, she's very agreeable. So these are in no particular order, but when I refreshed Trend Mood just now to make sure that I hadn't missed anything, this did come up. It's the very newest release from Colourpop. Colourpop's back in the game. They had a little break, but they're back on the horse, and they're releasing some new formulas. So the two formulas that I think are of interest, the two new things, they're new this week, are the shadow pots, the cream shadows in pots, and the lip oil, yet another lip formula from Colourpop. The shadow pots, the cream shadow pots, when I first saw or heard, I think I read somewhere, like, Colourpop's coming out with cream shadows, I was really interested because I love a cream shadow. I mean, that's not strictly true. I've struggled with some cream shadow formulas in the past, but I've recently been wearing the Tom Ford cream and powder in Naked Bronze all the time, and I'm really into it, and it's really kind of brought me around to the way in which cream shadows can be super awesome. One of the ways in which they can be super awesome has to do with my eye shape. So because I have hooded eyes, anything that's not super set down onto my eyes will tend to crease over time. And eyeshadow isn't that sticky, but cream shadow does set down and adhere to the skin completely, and then if the formula is good, it's less likely to crease. So there are advantages to cream shadows. But the ones that Colourpop came out with are all matte. It's basically just the Colourpop version of the MAC paint pot, and I have no use for that kind of product, no interest in that. The lip oils are very alluring. There's always the allure with Colourpop that you could get something new, and the thrill of trying something new to you, and also new to the makeup world. Like, you can get a piece of that it's just released pie. You can be one of the first to try it out, right? So there's this thrill of newness all across the board with Colourpop at a very low price. So it's like, it could take that little bite, I could take that juicy bite of something new, and it will only cost me $5, $10. Of course, we know in reality it's always gonna end up costing you $30 because people just cannot bring themselves to place an order from Colourpop and pay for shipping. That's how they get you, right? So it's never ever really gonna be a drugstore priced order. You might get a number of products, but you're always gonna be paying a high-end price tag to place that order if you're insistent on getting over that $30 free shipping mark. All I'm saying is I feel that feeling when I look at this beautiful picture of these Colourpop Luxe lip oils, and I'm just like, ooh, it would be so fun to get that in the mail. It looks so beautiful. They really tend to kind of get it right with the colors most of the time. I feel like with Colourpop, a couple of these lip oil colors are, making my loins tingle. Like, I love it, I want it. But I've learned my lesson. So many times in the past, I've fallen victim to this desire to just take a bite out of that juicy pie of newness, especially with Colourpop lip products. And I always end up decluttering them after a while because the formulas never really quite check all the boxes. They often don't last as long on the lips as I would like them to. There's often some sort of quirk about the formula that ends up making it not my favorite. But really what happens is I get something like this into my collection and then I end up defaulting to my old favorites, my absolute favorite products, my current holy grail lip products. I know that if I were to get this, it would be fun for a little while, but the chances that it would outperform and outstrip the products that I already have that I really truly love, those chances are very, very low. So it's tempting, but I'm not gonna buy it. Similar situation with these Nabla glosses. I was attracted by this beautiful picture of these newly released Nabla glosses. I wanted to include them in the video because when I saw this, I felt my heart go pitter-patter. I was like, oh, I love lip gloss. I love glitter. I think this picture is particularly beautiful. It's like slightly contrasty. You can really see the shine of the packaging and you can see the glimmer of the glitters inside the tubes. And I like this crystal clear lid situation. It's just, this is the kind of thing that gets me. It has this sort of insouciant sophistication, and I could so see myself if I wasn't someone who checked myself before I wrecked myself in terms of spending on makeup. I could so see myself taking one look at this picture and being like, I have to have one of those. Like, oh, I feel the feelings. I have to have one. But the same thing. I have glosses. I have lip glosses, and these are probably great. I think Nabla is a good brand, but none of them is going to outperform and truly outstrip all of the lip glosses that I already have and replace them all in my affections such that it would have been like so worth it to spend that money right now. So this is beautiful and I give them props, but I'm not going to buy one of these glosses either. Ooh, next up is also lip products. I'm so drawn to lip products. I'm always clicking on them. I'm always looking at all of the colors when a new range of lip products is released. But I do have a particular stake in this one because it's all these beautiful, rich nudes. So I haven't talked about this Propa Beauty release yet on my channel. I think the last time I did new makeup releases, they had released and then they had sold out, so the timing wasn't good for me to talk about it, but they've just restocked. I have been keeping my eye on this brand. I have been following their future career with great interest because just look at these gleaming nude lipstick bullets, these unbelievable colors. There's orange leaning nudes, there's very, very brown nudes, super deep nudes, which are so stunning. And then the paler nudes seem to be really leaning into beige and brown and not leaning so hard on pink, which is the thing that I struggle with a lot of times with ranges of lip products. The pale nudes, the ones that are actually going to read as light on my skin, tend to really lean pink. And I know that because of the undertones of my skin. If I put them on, I'll just look like I'm wearing a pink lipstick. So there are often ranges of nudes that don't really have an actual neutral nude for me. But this range is like, I'm drooling. I mean, the colors are so incredible. I love also the ones that seem to balance like an orange with a pink with a brown. Profits, Limitless, the more orange nudes. That's very rare. A lot of times you'll see an orange nude in a range. Not a lot of times. Sometimes, on rare occasions, you'll see an orange leaning nude in a range. But they've got 3, 4. Make It, Focused, Profits, Limitless, and then that sort of mustardy undertone and Believe It. Just amazing. I'm so excited that this brand is doing what they're doing. I'm really glad they're on the scene. Everything about them to me is absolutely beautiful. Will I buy it? Not today. Not today. I am really keeping an eye on this brand. I've been really enjoying watching people review their products, and I can't wait to see what they come up with, and I hope that they continue to thrive and thrive and thrive. But I'm trying not to buy too much stuff, right? But here's what I'll say though about this. I feel much more inclined to buy from Propa Beauty to try out 1 or 2 of these nudes than I do to buy from Colourpop or to buy from Nabla. Just because those products, those lip glosses and lip oils, I can kind of see their future in my life. I can see that buying them and getting them in the mail would be about the immediate gratification, giving me something to chew on right now in terms of excitement and dopamine and expectation. But those products aren't things that I can imagine really loving in the long term. That's the honest truth. I can imagine enjoying buying them and having fun with them, but I can't really imagine actually loving them. But I can totally see myself actually loving, falling in love with one of these nude lipsticks from Propa. So the only thing that's keeping me from buying them right now is just that I'm just trying to be patient and not to be impulsive and not to just buy everything that seems like I might fall in love with it. Oh, here's one that I included just because I almost didn't include this. I almost didn't talk about it because it's kind of boring to me. This is the new Midas Cosmetics Dusk to Dawn collection. So they've come out with 4 face palettes. Actually, there is something notable besides the thing that made me giggle about this collection, which is that the range of skin tones that it's appropriate for is very, very wide, and that's fantastic. So they have these 2 relatively pale palettes and these 2 relatively deep and rich palettes, and across the range of all 4 you go from quite light to quite dark. So that's great. It's good that they did that. It's cute that they dressed it up with this like dawn, noon, dusk, midnight thing. But overall, the colors don't grab me as being like original and sophisticated. The pale peachy pink is just like peach, and the bronzy colors are just like bronze, and there's like a red and a gold, but they're like down the middle. You know what I mean? They're like middle of the road colors. So that's why it appears to be a boring release to me. But when I first opened it up and I looked at the covers of the palettes, dawn, noon, I was like, oh, dawn to midnight, and then I read through it and it says dawn, noon, duck, and I was like, duck? I was like, why is this palette called duck? If you look closely, you can see that it's trying to say dusk, but then there's this like stripe of color across the word, at least in this picture. Yeah, it says face palette in white writing right across it, and it cuts off the S, and it looks for all the world like it says duck. And that just cracks me up to think about like 4 face palettes which are called dawn, noon, duck, and midnight. This is another thing that I decided to talk about because I just have sort of an academic or aesthetic interest in the ideas, but that I have absolutely no desire to buy myself. So it's the BH Cosmetics Ice Cream Color Capsule palettes that they just came out with. They're calling it the Sweet Shop collection. So they're monochrome palettes. It's basically a version of what Colourpop has been releasing one at a time over the past like year or something. So they've got a blue one, a purple one, a brown one, an orange one, and a strawberry-ish one, and a green one. I completely understand the attraction to this. I understand the attraction of being able to like pick a color that you love and get a variety of shades and textures that all are part of that same color story. I love monochromatic makeup. I love monochromatic looks and fashion, and I understand the appeal of monochromatic eyeshadow palettes because it just gives you a breadth of tools to kind of do the one thing. But I have more bright colors than I really even need already for eyeshadow. I don't never use them. I'm not a person who only ever does neutral eyeshadow looks. I've actually been really into purple lately. You guys might have noticed that I have been wearing more purple looks. I've been using the Natasha Denona Lila palette, but it's 2 things actually. Like when I'm doing a colorful look, I tend to lean into the duskier and sort of grubbier and grungier version of that color. So for purples, the Lila palette suits me really well because it's got those kind of mixed grubby purples, but then it has a couple of bright, rich, true colors that I can use to enhance the look if I want to. And I'm always happier when I end up with that. I'm happier with that than I am with like straight primary versions of colorful looks. But if I wanted to do a really straight primary version of like a blue or a purple or green like I would be able to get from one of these BH palettes, I have shadows that I could use to get that kind of look, and I just never do it. I never reach for them. I never do it. I rarely do that sort of like bright primary monochrome thing with eyeshadow. So there's really no attraction for me with these. I must say that I think that it is well executed. I think that that's why I wanted to bring it up, even though it's not for me. The cone print on the shadows makes them much more attractive in the abstract, I think, and it's kept me kind of like coming back and looking at the pictures. And the raised font, the raised kind of glossy font on the covers of the palettes looks very beautiful. It doesn't necessarily look high-end because it's so sort of fun and sprinkly and sparkly and colorful, but it looks like something Too Faced would do. You know what I mean? It looks high-end in like the Too Faced or maybe even the slightly Urban Decay department. If you showed me this picture of the covers of the palettes, the Cotton Candy, Bubblegum, Orange Sorbet, and you were like, this is something Too Faced is developing, like this is a picture, a sneak peek from Jared, I would totally believe that. And I don't always feel that way about BH Cosmetics. In fact, I've kind of felt the opposite. I've often kind of felt like they needed to get some better designers, some better graphic designers on their team. So I do think that it's kind of like onwards and upwards for BH Cosmetics with this release. I think that they did a good job. Ooh, Patrick Ta. Let's talk about these new products from Patrick Ta. I am following Patrick Ta's future career with great interest, to the point of actually buying some products. Some of the products he's released lately. So I did a dedicated review of the brow wax, and I also bought one of the blushes. I bought She's So LA with my budget just for myself as a treat about a month ago, and I'll be talking about that soon. Because I've done that, because I've bought something from his last 2 releases, it starts to kind of build this brand loyalty thing. And for me, it's not just personal. It's not just like, oh, I now conceive of myself as someone who buys from Patrick Ta, who owns Patrick Ta makeup, who appreciates Patrick Ta. But because I'm on this public platform, I've been sort of like fused with the brand in the eyes of many of you. So you're often tagging me in Patrick Ta pictures, in new releases. I've sort of become a person on this platform who has an identity as someone who takes an interest in Patrick Ta and reviews some Patrick Ta products. So there is this thing with which to negotiate when I see that he's released new products. I'm not just looking at it sort of at face value, just like, is this my stuff? I'm looking at it through this foggy, kaleidoscopy, exciting lens of this being a brand that I'm attached to in a certain way. That said, and that being true, it didn't take me long to realize that there's nothing in this new launch from Patrick Ta that interests me. So the lip balm, fine. I'm sure that it's lovely. I'm actually sure that it's really lovely. But I just have lip balms, and it's a utilitarian product to me, and it's not the kind of thing that I would buy a luxurious version of when I already have perfectly serviceable versions of it. The same is kind of true of the Dewy Mist. I just don't use face mists that much, and I don't use powder products that often. So I rarely feel like I need the help of a spray to melt the products that are on my face into my skin. I'm usually using cream, so they're usually melting in of their own accord. When I start digging into my powder highlighters and powder blushes, that's when I start reaching for my sprays, but I just haven't been doing that lately. And even if I had been, I wouldn't be running out of spray. And again, it feels, even though it's being presented as something really luxurious and enhancing, a spray like this, a glowy, dewy spray for the face, it feels like a more utilitarian product to me rather than like an exciting product. And so it's not the kind of thing that I would buy if I already had something that would serve. The thing that interests me the most, that I would be the most likely to want to buy from this release, is the Face and Body Balm. It's the one that's the most original, makeup-y, editorial. It represents what I love about Patrick Ta, but it's a balm, and I'm not a person who likes an oily or glossy balm that stays in balm condition or in balm form, that doesn't set down. I like cream cheeks that sort of set and dry a little bit and really become sturdier on the skin. This kind of editorial balmy balm, I think, is really for photo shoots and, you know, magazine spread makeup and that kind of thing. That's how it strikes me, and it's not something that I want to own. Okay, so e.l.f. is coming out with some face oil mists, which I'm not interested in for the same reason that I am not interested in the one from Patrick Ta. And they're also coming out with these blush duos, which are little $3 compacts, the same as their little $3 eyeshadow compacts. Like, looks like they're the same size, same general format, and the same idea. And I don't need this, you know what I mean? I don't need more blushes. I really don't need powder blushes. If e.l.f. had come out with $3 cream blush and cream highlight compacts like this, I would be over here buzzing. I mean, I would be so interested in that. But they didn't. They came out with these powders. They look lovely. The swatches look lovely. They look pretty. It's just, I have stunning high-end blushes that I already am not using that much because they're powders and I'm really into creams right now. So it wouldn't make sense to pick up a $3 drugstore blush compact that's in the same format as the ones that I love, 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 and that I've made it through tons of declutters, that I want to pan, that I want to have forever. It wouldn't make sense to get something like this that, again, is never going to stack up to those just because it's new and it's exciting and it's only $3. I pulled up this imagery from Stila because it struck me as being kind of incongruous for a number of reasons. So they've released an eyeshadow palette. No, a single eyeshadow inspired by the kitten eyeshadow. It's a single shadow called the Kaleidoscope eyeshadow, inspired by the kitten eyeshadow. Finely milled light reflecting pigments, delivers a multitude of prismatic color and dimension. I'd kind of like to see a swatch of that. I looked for a swatch and I didn't see one, but I'll be following its future career with a modicum of interest, I guess. The thing that's interesting about this is just the imagery looks really dated to me. Like this woman's face, this model, it just reminds me, she looks like Claire Danes in the 90s. Like it looks like Claire Danes in some sort of movie poster for the Romeo and Juliet that starred Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. You know, it looks very, very like recent retro to me. And I also feel like they're advertising something here that they've had for a long time, which is that pump of primer that comes out in different colors, and they're using butterflies, which is also very 1990s. Maybe it's on purpose. Maybe they're trying to like get people with that throwback feeling, but it just kind of brought me up short. I was like, it simultaneously seems very basic, but also seems to be like attractive because it's not gimmicky. Like they're just saying we came out with this one single eyeshadow and this cream stick and these primers. Like it just, I'm simultaneously feeling two very conflicting reactions to it. And one of the reactions is like, Stila, you need to start getting in touch with what's actually vibrant today in makeup, because this doesn't seem vibrant to me at all. It feels a little bit ho-hum and like no one's going to give it the time of day. So part of me is feeling that way. And then part of me is kind of attracted to like the guilelessness of it, like the simplicity of it, and the fact that it doesn't seem like they're trying to like stay ahead of the trends and be, you know, on every trend train and be coming up with the next new thing. So I feel like a confusing mix of feelings about this, and that's all. I just wanted to share that with you. Oh, you guys, this Charlotte Tilbury thing. I'm really out of it right now in the makeup world in terms of watching, like consuming content and really knowing what's going on, because we are so consumed right now with trying to figure out what we're going to do next. Like change is happening in my life. Change is being forced upon us unexpectedly. And so we're having to like make a bunch of new plans, and there's a lot of listing of the pros and cons of various plans. So I'm in this headspace and actual logistical time of life when I don't have much time. Like I don't have the time that I usually have in my normal life for consuming beauty content. So this is all just to say that I haven't watched any reviews of this yet. I don't know what people are saying about it. The Charlotte Tilbury lip and cheek. This is just so let me just see what it says on Trend Mood. It says lip and cheek glow, a cream blush and lip tint. Blendable chiffon sheer texture with a blend of dew boosting oils and waxes. So it doesn't sound like it's a balm, like a Vaseline balm that stays in that oily, wet form the whole day. It seems like something that would have a little bit of more of a dry wax feeling and would blend out and would actually be like a cream blush that could also work on the lips. And this is right up my alley. Like you guys know, the way that it's packaged, the way that the swatches look, the fact that the colors are a little bit dusky. It's not like they're not too pink or too berry. They both have somewhat of a nude character to them. It's the exact kind of thing that I like. And I really do, I would say I trust Charlotte Tilbury to formulate things in a way that is likely to work for me, because I've had such good experience with her products recently. But the truth is that when I saw this, when these released and I saw pictures and, you know, now looking at the pictures on Trend Mood, I'm not having a feeling that I could sum up by saying, I really want this You know, this is a will I buy it video. So I'm asking like, am I gonna go out and buy this? Am I having a feeling where I'm like, oh, this is for me, I want this, I'm gonna buy this? And even though everything I have to say about it would indicate that, because I'm attracted to it, it's beautiful, it's right up my alley, I love the brand, I think the formula is probably really good, and the colors look great, and you know, it's plucking on my heartstrings, all of that is true, but all of that is not adding up to me being like, yeah, I think I'm gonna buy one of these. I'm just looking at it and thinking like, in a different year, at another time of life, if I were under different circumstances, then maybe I would buy one. And that kind of includes like, if it were normal times and I was physically going shopping and I went with my friend to the mall next weekend and we went to Nordstrom's and I swatched these and really liked one and looked really beautiful and I still had budget for the month, then I might buy one. Like I could totally see that happening. It's just not that time of life right now. And I don't really see myself just buying this. I just don't. Wet n Wild has released this supremely cute collab or IP inspired makeup. It's My Melody and Kuromi, which I don't really know. I'm not familiar with this intellectual property. And I'm also not a person who tends to buy makeup because it's cutesy. Like I'm not usually drawn to cutesy things. But the face palette here, the blush lighter palette, it looks so beautiful. And I just, the whole thing just looks very well done. You know, even though I'm not a connoisseur of cutesy things, sometimes I see cutesy things and I'm like, not only is that cutesy, but it just isn't very well executed and it's not attractive to me. Looking at this, I'm like, it's cutesy, but it is very well executed and it is attractive to me. I'm pretty sure that I won't end up ever buying any of the things from this collection. I'm not going to order the collection. It's just not for me, you know, it's not mine. But look at that blush lighter palette. That red coral is so beautiful. Both of the colors of like highlighting blushy colors look beautiful. And then there's that gorgeous deep color in there. It just is, it's cute. I feel like they did a good job and I wanted to touch on it for that reason. That's it, you guys. It feels like this was kind of a short will I buy it video, but as always, I just picked the things from the past couple weeks that I felt like I had a reason to want to talk about, that I felt like I could contribute to the conversation about. And I guess there's nothing that I really wanted to buy that I talked about today. That Charlotte Tilbury stuff does interest me. I am going to be maybe watching some reviews and thinking about it. But if I end up buying one of those Charlotte Tilbury lip and cheek things, it'll be an investment that I make in the future. It won't be a thing where I like get it while it's hot. I don't want to get it while it's hot. I think that maybe that can like sum up everything that I talked about today. Even the things that I have a passing interest in, like the Colourpop stuff, the Charlotte Tilbury stuff, the Propa lipsticks that I talked about, I definitely have an interest in those. I'm trying to keep myself from letting the impulse to get it while it's hot influence whether or not I ever get it. I'm going to get it when it's cold. And if I'm still interested in it when it's cold, then that will mean that my interest is real and enduring and isn't really being like souped up by the excitement of the fast pace of this industry. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comment section down below how you've been feeling about new releases and how your feelings about new releases lately have been impacted by or have been impacting your current life situation, especially if that situation is affected by the global pandemic, if things have been different for you this year. How's that kind of playing out when it comes to this hobby that we share of paying attention to what's going on in the makeup industry? Do that, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself right now so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.